Hi everyone, so I wanted to come on live today and just share my own story of an eating disorder. I struggled with anorexia and bulimia, and obviously I've got my book coming out in a couple of days, and then I'm hoping to launch the online program starting on the 5th of March, just after Eating Disorder Awareness Week. And so I wanted to come onto this page and just do some lives, just to kind of, again, share with you my story today. And then tomorrow I want to sort of talk with you about what helped me. And then, oh, hi Stacey, thanks for coming on. And then on Wednesday, I wanted to share a bit more about the group program, how it runs. You know, if you've got any questions you want to ask me, anything like that, then I'd be pleased to go through those with you. So today, with my story, I was in a lot of denial when I was diagnosed with anorexia. And I suppose you could say that I didn't feel like I was a typical anorexic, whatever that is. And then it's only now that I look back and I realise that there's not really a typical, because everybody experiences it. Although there's a lot of similarities, people's experiences are very different. And I was 30 when I first sort of started struggling with anorexia, and I'd always thought that, it was only something that kind of, came on when you were a teenager. And the other thing is that I was still eating. And again, I just thought that, people with anorexia just didn't eat. They didn't eat anything, or maybe they just had a salad a day, or, because this is what I'd been kind of told by the media. And the other big thing for me is that I didn't consider myself to be skinny, and I certainly wasn't ever, I don't think, skeletal. And in the media there's so many sort of like shocking photos and that of young women particularly being, really, really skinny, and often you can think, well, I'm not that, that's not me, so I'm okay and I've not got a problem. And I know that denial is quite difficult anyway, because, it kind of, we have that voice in our head that does lie to us, and we make out that everything is okay because, our eating disorder provides some safety and some way of control. And so it's really hard to give that up. But I genuinely did, was in denial around this. And so, I just want to say that you don't have to be, any particular weight or shape or anything like that. To me, it's all about that voice in your head. And if that is telling you certain things, it's been real negative, being a real bitch to you, basically, excuse my French, then that is the serious element. And because, whether you have binge eating disorder, you have bulimia, you have anorexia, you have orthorexia, you live by all of these rules and these rituals that, this is okay, but that's not okay. And nobody should be telling you that, but you. And so I've gone totally off track now, as I usually do. So there was a lot of denial, which stopped me from accessing help. So if you are still in denial, if you're still like, well, no, I can deal with this myself, and, and I can, I can do this and it will be okay. It's really, really hard to kind of get well, to feel better without some help, and hence why I do what I do. So my struggles when I had an eating disorder, there was like I said, I was sort of like trapped in these rules and these rituals, I couldn't focus on anything but food. I was stuck in this kind of like restrictive binging cycle. I used to isolate myself from other people because I felt safer that way. Didn't have any conversation to kind of like to add to anybody. Absolutely tortured by that voice in my head. I was full of anxiety, of fear, of guilt, of shame. I couldn't I really sort of struggled to socialise, so holidays and sort of social occasions and all this sort of stuff, really, really difficult. I was freezing cold, I was exhausted, I was dizzy every time I got up, my hair was falling out and all of this stuff. But no matter how hard it got, I was still terrified of trying to let go, trying to do anything, trying to change, and that was all about losing control, sort of like gaining weight, other people's comments, for them to think that I was okay when inside I really wasn't. I used to have this thing that, when people were around me, they'd kind of like watch and see if I was eating. And when I'd start to eat, I could feel them relax, but in my head, I was still screaming that, actually, no, I'm not okay. And that's really hard because obviously, I think a lot of mine was because I couldn't speak out. I couldn't say that I was struggling in my life. And so sort of like anorexia and losing weight was almost like I didn't need to say I'm struggling because people could, eventually they could see it. And so if I'd have been able to sort of speak out, maybe, things would have been different, but that was just me then. So I was worried about kind of like people thinking that I was okay and then taking that support away from me and me feeling like alone, etc. again. Even the thought of recovery was really difficult because I had sort of like this perception of what it would be, and was me being huge basically. And so I thought, well, why would I need to reach out for help in order to achieve that? So all of these things kind of, and also losing that identity, it's like it had been my life for such a part of my life, and felt like such a long time. I wasn't quite sure where what I would look like without it. So all of these fears that I had and all this resistance sort of kept me trapped to where I was. And I suppose it was only when things had got to rock bottom and I realised that it's kind of like a life or death situation really for me, when I was able to then do something about it. Stacey, that's exactly how I know. Yeah, it's really, really difficult, isn't it? The fears involved are just immense, and the only way that I can describe it is if you have a fear of heights and you have to strap on a parachute and jump out of that plane, to go on a skydive, but you're doing that constantly every single day, and that's the only way that I can try and describe that to people. But luckily, I did manage to sort of like change things. I managed to transform my life, and and I was asked the other day, what I was grateful for, what recovery was like for me. And I always sort of like struggled to be really sort of like grateful for things before, because although I knew that there were things in my life that I should be grateful for, I had a real difficult time in actually feeling them, if that makes sense. But now, kind of coming out of that, I can really see I'm grateful for so many things, but essentially I'm so glad that I didn't take my own life when I wanted to. I felt like I was so desperate just to get out of this, it felt like it was the only way out. I was in that place. I had 2 children, and yet it didn't make any difference to me in the respect of it wasn't a selfish decision, because I genuinely felt that I was a burden and that I was, that they were better off without me. And I am so grateful now that I didn't do that, because now I can look back and, I can see how that voice was lying, how that voice effed me up, and that wasn't the truth. And actually I would have left a whole devastation behind if that's what I would have done, but I couldn't see it at that time. And and I would never judge anybody for feeling the way that I did, but all I want to say is that I know how that feels, but you can get out of it. It's tough, I'm not going to lie, it is tough. It's hard work, it's not an overnight sort of click your fingers and everything's all right again. It's not, it is hard work, and it's something that you have to choose for yourself every day, and sometimes, more frequently. But it can be done, and, now I can say to you that it really is bloody worth it, of all the effort that it takes and all the, the perseverance and and everything that is involved. It is really, really worth it. And all the fears that I had, I no longer feel. All the worries and the concerns and all the resistance that I have no longer apply to me. And I'm really, really, really grateful for my life now. And recovery, I know that, I don't really like the recovery because of all the connotations that I had, before that. But, what recovery is for me is just amazing, and I am so glad that I'm here. And if I can do it, I don't have any sort of like superpowers or anything like that, and if I can do it, then so can you. And I'm going to leave you with that today, and I will be back tomorrow. Please, if you want to share anything with me, please feel free to do so. Either comment below, I know it's a public page, so people don't, generally like to do that, but, you can message me, definitely, or email me at kim@kissgoodbyetoanna.com. And I'd love to hear your story if you'd like to share that with me. I'll leave that with you for now, and I will be back tomorrow. All right, take care. Lots of love. Bye.